It's April 1964.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles!
The Beatles have just made history by holding the top 5 spots on the music charts. On television, the 3 major networks, CBS, ABC, and NBC, battle for primetime ratings with hit shows like The Beverly Hillbillies, Bonanza, and The Dick Van Dyke Show.
The Dick Van Dyke Show, starring Dick Van Dyke.
And the biggest TV star of them all was Lucille Ball, America's favorite redhead, who, with her husband Desi Arnaz, had helped CBS dominate the airwaves with I Love Lucy, and now The Lucy Show, produced at their Hollywood studio, Desilu. Though Lucy was the undisputed queen of television, Desilu fell on hard times when Lucy and Desi divorced in 1960, leaving a reluctant Lucy as the head of the studio. By 1964, Desilu was searching for new series ideas that could restore the name and the profits of the struggling studio. That's when head of series development, Herb Solow, met with an out-of-work television writer named Gene Roddenberry. Born in Texas but raised in Southern California, Roddenberry grew up the son of a Los Angeles police officer. After flying combat missions in World War II, and then working as an airline pilot, Gene eventually followed in his father's footsteps, becoming an LAPD officer himself while moonlighting as a television writer. Now age 43, Roddenberry had only recently achieved his dream of producing a television series. It was called The Lieutenant.
Of the 5th Marines, this regiment has established a record of courageous achievement and devotion to duty unsurpassed in the annals of American military history. Believe me, Colonel, with tradition like this to back us up, what more could we need to make a smash hit?
Well, a good script might help.
Oh, come on, Ruthie.
But Roddenberry's first show was short-lived. Despite positive reviews, The Lieutenant was canceled after only 1 year. Some, including Roddenberry himself, blamed war in Vietnam for a lack of interest in military programs. But Roddenberry's relationship with NBC and MGM Studios may have been broken much earlier when he submitted a controversial episode for The Lieutenant called To Set It Right. The story, which starred Don Marshall and Nichelle Nichols, along with Dennis Hopper as a bigoted Marine, dealt directly with racial prejudice.
I had nothing to do with that. Sir, he's a liar. You, from the day I came to his school, he was the one telling me I was going to get it. I told that to all of them. We had a good school going before they... All right, maybe I shut my mouth off like kids do. But I don't know who clobbered him. But I do. When somebody hit you with a chain, Lieutenant, you know who did it. I was just another nigger that didn't know his place.
I told you to knock off that kind of talk, Private.
Sir, you asked me for fact. I was just quoting what Devlin said to me once.
Uh-huh. Has anyone ever said that to you since you joined the Marine Corps, Private?
No, sir. I liked the Corps fine. Until a few minutes ago. I even liked boot camp, sir. I didn't see ounce one of prejudice there. Everybody got chewed out all the time.
You figure it's different here.
If you've got Devlins here, sir, and if they can make NCOs, then I must have had it figured all wrong. It's no different from the rest of the world. Sir.
The script upset the U.S. military, and in turn NBC, which refused to air the episode, forcing MGM to shoulder the full cost of production. Perhaps with that experience in mind, Roddenberry set out to draft a new series pitch, one that would allow him to explore these challenging topics more boldly, which he now hoped to sell to Desilu. He called it Star Trek. In his original 1964 treatment, Roddenberry presented Star Trek as a 1-hour, action-adventure science fiction program that he called A Wagon Train to the Stars.
What's the idea?
I'm going to power out this shipment to that farmer.
Unlike science fiction shows of the past, which were often silly and complicated and expensive to make, Roddenberry wrote Star Trek as a new type of sci-fi, with strong, relatable central characters, and using a concept he called parallel worlds, meaning the series would focus on exploring Earth-like planets and civilizations, allowing the studio to reuse sets and costumes from other programs, and cutting the cost of production. Recognizing the potential of Roddenberry's concept, Solo signed him to develop the idea, and he began shopping Star Trek around to the networks. His best shot was CBS, the longtime home of Lucy, which had just wrapped production on its only sci-fi series, The Twilight Zone. But the network passed on Star Trek in favor of developing a different space show idea, called Lost in Space. Running out of options, Solo managed to arrange a meeting for Roddenberry with his former employer, NBC, which was now promoting itself as the all-color network.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
Star Trek was an idea made for color, but convincing NBC would not be easy. Roddenberry had raised eyebrows with his last series, and his disorganized presentation style often confused TV executives. The network took a chance and ordered a pilot. NBC chose The Cage, one of 3 story options Roddenberry presented, and the most expensive script to make. Now the risks were incredibly high for Desilu. They had never produced such an ambitious series before, and the studio executives prepared to shoot down the project. But in a surprising move, Lucille Ball supported the idea, giving Star Trek a green light to begin production. The Cage was completed in February 1965. The story centers on Captain Christopher Pike, played by Jeffrey Hunter, best known for his appearances in John Wayne Western films.
Dad, I can't make a signal. What is it?
His second-in-command, known only as Number 1, was played by actress Majel Barrett.
Mr. Spock here.
And standing out from the otherwise human cast, a mysterious Martian named Spock. At a cost of over $630,000, more than 3 times that of a typical pilot, The Cage was a titanic production. Unlike other space adventures, which often took place mostly outside the ship, Star Trek involved the construction of elaborate studio sets for the interior of the USS Yorktown, later renamed the Enterprise. Adding to the high cost, Roddenberry insisted that the Enterprise, as well as the technologies used by her crew, should be based in real science. Enlisting the help of the RAND Corporation, a scientific think tank, and a talented team at Desilu, Star Trek delivered on this promise of a future that was not only exciting, but believable.
Boys here.
Drop by my cabin, Doctor.
But not all technology was rooted in science, or so it seemed at the time. The transporter was a dazzling concept, able to instantly beam the crew to the planet below.
One could find oneself materialized inside solid rock.
Nothing will be said if any volunteer wants to back out.
It was an unforgettable sight, and a useful story device, allowing the episode to move along without wasting time and money, landing the ship each week. NBC executives were stunned by The Cage. It was a remarkable achievement in television production. They even applauded.
Increase to full power!
Then, NBC rejected the pilot. The network wasn't concerned with the far-out concept, but rather a few very earthly issues.
Who wants a warm martini?
What makes you think I need one?
Chris, you set standards for yourself no one could meet. You treat everyone on board like a human being except yourself. Well, now you're tired and you...
You bet I'm tired. You bet. I'm tired of being responsible for 203 lives, and I'm tired of deciding which mission is too risky and which isn't, and who's going on the landing party and who doesn't, and who lives, and who dies.
NBC believed the series was too cerebral and lacked enough action to keep viewers interested. It was also too sexy.
Funny how they are in this planet. Actually like being taken advantage of.
Roddenberry's green Orion dancing girl raised eyebrows with network censors. So did Spock. With his pointed ears, NBC feared he would be seen as demonic by conservative station owners and advertisers. They also took issue with the first officer. NBC criticized the character for her stern and commanding persona, which was considered not feminine, and the leading lady herself, saying Barrett lacked the star power needed for the role. NBC could have brought an end to the Star Trek experiment, but instead took an unprecedented action of ordering a second pilot. That episode, called Where No Man Has Gone Before, would launch our adventure into the final frontier. Where No Man was a refinement of Roddenberry's idea and a response to the new constraints from NBC. Forced to choose between his controversial characters, Roddenberry makes Spock the first officer of the Enterprise, now half human, half Vulcanian, and he makes the difficult choice to cut his soon-to-be wife, Majel Barrett, from the cast.
Now, she does a good job, all right. It's just that I can't get used to having a woman on the bridge. No offense, Lieutenant. You're different, of course.
But most importantly, the Enterprise now needed a new captain. After Jeffrey Hunter declined to do the second pilot, Roddenberry set out to recast the character, now named James T. Kirk. That's when he met actor William Shatner, who had given memorable performances in a now classic episode of The Twilight Zone, and in a space story for ABC's The Outer Limits.
You married a man, not a headline. But, a man with certain peculiarities. Even as a boy, he'd spend hours watching the leaves fall from the trees, studying how they fell. His head was always up, looking at the birds. He even made himself a pair of wings and jumped off the barn. It darn near broke his neck. That's how much he wanted to be a bird. So, he became a bird. Started flying higher and higher. August 6th, 1956, remember? And one day, he broke through the troposphere, right into the stratosphere. And right then, for the first time, he understood the purpose of his life. It was to lead the way to new worlds, new life, new knowledge. That's the headline, Anne. That's Project Vulcan.
This is the captain speaking. The object we encountered is a ship's disaster recorder, apparently ejected from the SS Valiant almost 200 years ago.
Tapes are burned out, drying the memory banks.
We hope to learn from the recorder what the Valiant was doing here and what destroyed the vessel. We'll move out into our probe as soon as we have those answers. All decks, stand by.
Department head, sir. You wanted everybody on the bridge before we left the galaxy.
Jones?
Name's Smith, sir.
Astrocytes is standing by, Captain.
Shatner brings a new style and swagger to the captain's chair, with a high-energy performance that changes the tone of the series.
Will he know what to do with his power? Will he acquire the wisdom?
Please go back while you still can.
Did you hear him joke about compassion? Of all else, a god needs compassion! Mitchell!
The second pilot excites NBC enough to win Star Trek its first season. But the network is still uneasy about the show, going so far as to airbrush promotional materials to remove Spock's signature ears.
Stand by, Mr. Spock.
As the new 5-year mission gets underway, DeForest Kelley is added to the cast as Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy.
Bits of the plant in his mouth.
Jim, don't tell me my business. He could not have swallowed any. My instruments would have picked up any trace of it whatsoever.
Then what kills a healthy man?
I'll tell you something else. This man shouldn't be dead. I can't find anything wrong with him.
And familiar Trek faces, James Doohan, George Takei, and Nichelle Nichols round out the cast in the roles of Scotty, Sulu, and Uhura. In its first season, the crew explores strange new worlds in unforgettable stories that continued to push the boundaries of television. But these voyages would not come easily. The story of Star Trek is one of a bold and hopeful vision that challenged the status quo of television and society. Ahead, the USS Enterprise will do battle with aliens and monsters, along with critics and censors, finding a diverse and passionate audience and inspiring a generation.